Alright. So here I am. I can't tell if that's a landscaper or if that's a something in my car. Or like I keep hearing this vrr, vrr. I can't tell what it is. Uh Also one thing I had to say before I actually start this, I got like a lav mic thing after making the other 2.5 hour video. And I tried it out yesterday and like it was like peaking like crazy. I was like, holy fuck. Or maybe not peaking, but it was like very, very loud. And I was like, what the hell? And it kind of made me appreciate this phone mic a little more because it's not fucking off the rails. It's not absolutely insane. It kind of does a decent job at dampening uh dampening my voice so that it doesn't sound terrible, basically. I gotta configure that because I would like to use it. I think it probably would sound better. Also, it does pick up more background noise though, which kind of sucks because sometimes I leave the car on if I need the AC, or eventually I'm gonna need the heat probably. So it sucks that takes up more of the background noise. Maybe that's just because it's louder. I don't know. I'll figure that out. But anyways, though, that wasn't how I kind of planned to start this. That just was how it started. Anyways, I wanted to talk about a very surprising turn of events for me personally, because I have, for a pretty long time at this point, I would say, yeah, I would say like at least a decade at this point, I have been kind of an Apple hater, to be honest. Which, not in like the traditional sense where it, like, you know, a hater, they just hate everything that someone or something does. That's not entirely true. I'm not like a delusional hater of Apple, I guess, because there are a lot of things I respect about Apple, and I have owned Apple devices in the past. Like I had an iPod Nano. I think it's iPod Nano. It's not like the small one, the weird tiny little small one. It's like the, you know, the normal size one that wasn't like the bigger one, but it was still like a smaller device. I thought the thing was pretty cool for its time. And then I got an iPad in like 6th grade, I want to say. I'm pretty sure it was like 6th grade. I had an iPad, which I think was like the second generation of iPads or something. Literally had like 8, or it was either 8 or 16, I think it was 16 gigabytes of storage. And not like 18 gigabytes of like memory or anything, or 16 gigabytes of memory. 16 gigabytes of storage. That's how far we've come. Like nowadays, if a device doesn't have like at least 256 gigabytes of storage, people are like throwing up in their mouths when they look at that. Back then, it was just like, yep, that's what you get. But I had an iPad, and I honestly liked it, but there were also problems I had with the iPad, which is why I actually jailbroke it years ago. Like, I think probably after the first year or two I had it, I jailbroke it. Or maybe not even first year or two. It might have been first year, I think. After the first year I had it, I decided to jailbreak it. Because I didn't want, or I wanted other stuff that wasn't available on the App Store. Because that'll be something I go back to in a little bit, but like the App Store sucks. I mean, the Google Play Store sucks too, because there's just a bunch of garbage on there, and sometimes it's just openly like malware on the Google Play Store. But the App Store also kind of sucks because It's like they're too strict. The problem is that there needs to be like a balance where it's like not so strict, where you can have apps that people want, and not so loose about it that you're literally just like distributing malware. But basically, I didn't like how strict things were. So like, for example, there wasn't like cheats on Minecraft Pocket Edition. When I jailbroke my thing, I got cheats for Minecraft Pocket Edition, which was great. I got to like cheat in like the camera item that was never used and stuff like that. And also I wanted to be able to record my screen too, because I wanted to make YouTube videos. So there wasn't really a way to do that before. Now I'm pretty sure every like mobile device has a way to record videos, but back then they didn't. So I had to jailbreak it so I could record videos. That was funny. Some of those videos I actually still have too. So yeah. But I decided to jailbreak it, and it was okay. Also, I wanted emulators on it too, is another thing, which now Apple allows some emulators on the App Store, but back then, no emulators on the App Store. Although there was this one game that was on the App Store. It was called like, it's literally called like Hacks Money or something like that. Not like the Melee player, but like it's literally called like Hacks or something like that. And it was like some weird port of Doom or Wolfenstein or something. And I remember playing that, and like you could like, it just had a bunch of cheats enabled and stuff. That's like the only time I ever really played those old school like Doom or Wolfenstein games. Anyways, though, getting off topic, I had that iPad, and I did generally like it. I used to use that iPad a shit ton throughout, like, probably I would say most of middle school. I used that iPad constantly. I would watch YouTube videos on it. I would even record YouTube videos on it. I played so much Minecraft Pocket Edition back when it's not like it is now, where it's basically the full game. Back then, like, I remember we got the update for furnaces, and it was like, oh my god, we have storage, because before there was no fucking storage, and you would get iron ore, and you couldn't do anything with the iron ore because you couldn't smelt it. That was before we even had chests. Oh man, but those were fun times. You just had stone tools. But yeah, so had that iPad, and then I did not get another Apple product after that. I did. Growing up, we had Apple computers in school. I remember we had like those old Macs before they have like the newer ones where it's like a lot slimmer, like the old one where it looked like a CRT basically. I remember those way back when I was a kid, like first, second grade. But then they got like the new slimmer ones, which you mostly see now. And yeah, like I always kind of never really liked a lot of the macOS stuff, because the one thing that always pissed me off about Apple was the mouse. The mouse was the biggest piece of shit ever. Because you use those mice, I don't even know, they still might make those mice, I don't know. But literally, they have the right click disabled. Which is like, why? Why would you have the right click disabled? Which, I'm guessing that part of the reason they do that is because they're trying to cater to old people and to children who don't understand technology. And so they just see click, and they want to click. And they don't know left and right click. They don't know the difference between them. Something like that. But I always hated that, because it's like, I guess one of the things about Apple is that some of what they do is kind of form over function rather than function over form. Whereas something like Windows or Android, or I guess Linux, if you want to go there, it's more like function over form. So it doesn't look as pretty as macOS does. It doesn't feel as good as macOS does, but it gets the job done better because it's more about the function. It's more about how it works rather than how it looks, which is the thing that always kind of annoyed me about Apple down the line, because there's just a lot less functionality on an Apple device. So that's why I've been an Android user forever. That's why I've been a Windows user forever. And that's why for the longest time I was like, why the fuck do people buy Apple products? Which I think part of it is they get trapped in the ecosystem. And so it's like, well, I have an iPhone, so I gotta get a MacBook, or I gotta get a Mac Studio or whatever. And, you know, there's like the whole FaceTime thing and the green bubble, you know, oh, you're a filthy green bubble pleb. Something like that, you know. That was like an actual real thing. But, yeah, so basically, I never liked Apple products really when they started taking off. I didn't mind the original iPads and the original iPhone and like the iPod, but it all went kind of downhill in my opinion. And so I've always kind of been an Apple hater, but not completely. I'm not like delusional where it's just I have to hate every single thing they do and try to find a way to justify my hatred. There are things that I think Apple does well. And I mean, there's a reason why they're one of the biggest companies in the whole world, because they understand a lot of their consumers and they understand how to make products that look good and feel good. And people would always tell me that. They'd always be like, I can't use an Android phone. Like, it doesn't feel right to use it. And I was always like, I mean, feels fine to me. And so I never really had a reason to want to get an Apple product. And that was always the way I thought it was going to be. Like, I always kind of had this, I guess, almost air of superiority, sort of, where it's like, why the fuck would I ever buy an Apple product? This is so fucking stupid. And then I did have this one friend a couple years ago, and he kept telling me how he got this like M1 Macbook or something. He's just like, wow, it's so amazing. You know, it never runs out of battery. You can play all these games, and you can even get like it's a crossover or something. It's a thing that lets you run some Windows apps on Mac. You have to like pay for it or whatever. But he was like, you know, he was even able to play like GTA 5 at 30 FPS or something when it's not even on Mac or whatever. And I was like, that's kind of cool. But I don't know. I mean, I don't see a reason for it. But at the same time, I did get a laptop before he started talking about that. And I got a Windows laptop because I was like, well, you know, I want a gaming laptop because I like to be able to play games on it. Which is ironic, by the way, because I actually got Black Ops 4 for free with that, and I almost didn't even bother redeeming it, but I did, and now I'm glad I did because now I want to play Black Ops 4. So it's nice to be able to have that now. But anyways, though, I had that laptop, and initially I was like, oh, it's great, you know, and it was nice because my desktop didn't have an SSD, so the boot times were dog shit. It would take like 2 minutes to actually boot up. This laptop felt so much faster in comparison. But ironically, it eventually kind of started to wear off because there's a couple problems I would say with Windows laptops, especially that I realized when having that laptop, because I had a couple other ones. I had like one Windows laptop, and was it the first? Yeah, I think it was the first laptop. It was the first laptop I ever had. It was like a shitty compact one. Probably cost like $300 back then. Something. Wasn't great. And it had Windows Vista on it. I used to play Minecraft on that. I used to play modded Minecraft on that, and it actually functioned. But it wasn't great. And then I didn't get another laptop up until the Dell gaming laptop that I got, which I was excited for. But one of the things I immediately found out about gaming laptops is that gaming laptops actually suck. Like a lot. Which maybe they've gotten better. They probably have gotten a little better. But 7 years ago when I got this thing, I didn't actually purchase it. My parents did. Because it was supposed to also be for like college kind of stuff too. The thing that I didn't realize about gaming laptops is you can't actually game on the laptop when it's not plugged in. And I remember because I was trying to play Minecraft, which is like, you know, it's like the baseline. I feel like it's one of the games I always try first when I get a new computer, just to see how it runs. And I tried playing Minecraft, and I'm like, why is it so, it's like stuttering, and like the frame rate's pretty bad. I know like this laptop is capable of 60 hertz. I know it can do that. So what the fuck? And then I was like Googling and trying to figure out what the hell's going on. And then I found out that it doesn't actually let you get that full performance unless you're plugged in, because it doesn't want to use up too much of the battery. And it doesn't want to make the battery like too hot, I guess. There are like some reasons for that. That makes sense. But it's also like it fucking sucks. Why would I buy a gaming laptop when I can't even fucking use the laptop to game unless it's plugged in? At that point, why don't I just buy a fucking like mini PC or something and some portable monitor and just go somewhere, you know? Like, it's stupid. So I ended up actually not wanting to really use it that much. There were like periods where I used it, especially when my desktop like died and I was just stuck with that. It was okay in a pinch, but I never really used it that much because it just wasn't very useful to me. Because if I'm at home and I have to be plugged in, why don't I just use my fucking PC? And if I'm not plugged in, well then all I can really do is like, I guess watch videos or play a lightweight game maybe, but even then it's gonna look choppy. So that's why I kind of came to the realization that Windows laptops are kind of dog shit. And especially like gaming laptops are kind of dog shit. Oh yeah, and also, I didn't even mention, in terms of the battery, I already mentioned that, you know, they tried to save the battery by limiting the performance of games and stuff while you're not plugged in. The battery itself also was garbage. So I couldn't really use it when it wasn't plugged in, especially later on in its life cycle. I couldn't use the fucking thing when it was plugged in. It sucked. And so I kind of had this realization where I was like, Windows laptops are just not good. But I also don't want to really get like a MacBook. I almost thought about deciding to install Linux on that Dell laptop, because you apparently can. I didn't do it though, because I didn't want to fuck it up and then not have a backup computer in case my current computer fucking imploded. But once I got a job and I actually started getting money, I was thinking, you know, maybe I should get a new laptop, because this one's like 7 years old at this point, or almost 7 years old. I got it like December of 2018. So I was like, let's maybe save up for a new laptop. And at first I was thinking maybe I go like something just kind of budget, something where I can just do basic stuff on it and whatever. And then I was like, it would probably be kind of nice to be able to do some editing on the go or even just like on the laptop. So I was thinking, let me see what might be good for editing. And basically, it was like a bunch of gaming laptops, and then the main recommendation was a MacBook. And I was like, maybe. Which is something that I thought I would never say before. Like, if I had known that I was going to say that, like, maybe 6 or 7 years ago, I I I might have, maybe parachuted off a building or something. I would have been like, wow, I'm really that far gone, huh? I'm fucking thinking about getting a MacBook? What's wrong with me? That probably would have been my mentality at that point. Like, what the fuck did I turn into? But that's it. That's what happened. I decided to buy a MacBook. And the one thing about MacBooks too is they're pretty fucking expensive. They're expensive as fuck. They like the new ones, I think even like on the low end it's like $1,000 or close to $1,000 for like the low end one. And so that kind of scared me a little bit. But I was looking on Best Buy and it was like around Labor Day, and so they had these Labor Day deals going on. And I saw they had the M2 MacBook on sale. It was normally $800 and it was $700. And so I was like, man, that's not a bad deal. That's a good deal. And like, I wanted to get like an entry level MacBook. I didn't want something crazy, but I did want something that was like an M1 or M2 or whatever. And that kind of felt like perfect in that sense. So I decided to say fuck it, and I took the plunge. And I bought the MacBook. And first off, it just felt kind of crazy because I had never really made like a big purchase like that on my own. Like, I just dropped $700 on a device. I had never really done that before. So I felt kind of bizarre, but it also felt pretty good. And I think it also made me want to use it more because it's like I paid $700 for this thing, so I better fucking use it. Like if like your parents like gift you, like for example, my parents got me like an Xbox 360 back in 2006 or 2007, probably 2007. They got me an Xbox 360 and like I didn't even really want to use it because I wanted a Wii. That was what I actually wanted. And so I now that I purchased this thing, it's like I gotta fucking use it. I can't just leave it and just never use it. And the first day I got it, I was a little pleasantly surprised, to be honest. Like, it just the first thing that immediately struck me, just the moment I took it out of the box, was I was like, this thing is fucking light. Like, that Windows laptop I had, which to be fair, it's a gaming laptop, so it has a GPU in it. It was like a GTX 1060, I think. So not like a fucking 4090 or something, but like, it's a pretty hefty device still. And obviously it has a bunch of fans in it and all that, so it was pretty bulky. And I didn't like it that much for like traveling. It was hard to travel with it. This fucking MacBook is so light. It's so easy to pick it up. And like, it just feels good in the hands. There is like one little like jagged edge kind of where like below the keyboard, or like below the trackpad, where it has a little kind of lip, I guess, to help you open it. And it is a little like, it's like a pointy edge there for some reason, which is surprising because I feel like Apple's always the type of company where they like smooth out every edge because they want it to feel good. So I'm surprised that that exists, but it is what it is. That's like the only thing. Everything else I was like blown away, like how it looked and how it felt. It felt good. Setup process was easy, and you know, it's not like Windows where they're like, hey, can you give us all your information? Didn't have to deal with that. So that's cool. And so the first day I was just kind of like setting stuff up. I was just downloading some of the programs that I had. And one thing I will say about programming or downloading programs on Mac OS, it kind of sucks because it asks you a million times like, oh, this is a program you downloaded from the internet. Are you sure you want to run it? It's like, yes, I downloaded this program because I want to run it. And then it's like, can this access your desktop? Can this access your microphone? Can this access your documents folder? Can this access your pictures folder? Can this access, like, it needs to get every little bit of access. But also, I can at least kind of respect that to a degree because they are trying to protect your privacy and not just give it like full blanket access to whatever the fuck it wants. So that's kind of a cool thing. And generally speaking, I felt like the setup process was not bad. I felt like I got things going pretty quick. And even I got my drawing tablet a couple days later after it. And I just had the MacBook already on, so I was like, you know what? I'll try using the MacBook. Tried using it with the MacBook, and you had to like install a driver and you have to install the software and stuff. So I started doing that, and the setup process was not that bad, like not bad at all. I was surprised. And when I installed it later on my PC, it was a little bit more of a pain because you have to like restart and everything and all that. It surprisingly was easier to do on Mac OS, which that really surprised me, because you would think that it's like, oh, Apple's so privacy focused and they don't let you do things. So, you know, and they hide a bunch of settings that you'd want to change if you're a power user, but they hide them in like weird setting categories and stuff. But it was easy to set it up on the Mac compared to Windows. I was really blown away by that, to be honest. And generally speaking, I honestly, I was like blown away at how it feels. I always knew that Apple products just kind of like feel good to use. That's what everybody would say. And you could kind of even just get a sense of it using something for a little bit. But like, holy fuck, it is so nice to use an Apple product. It feels good. I'm gonna drink some water really quick. Give me a second here. But anyways, back to where I was. So yeah, I think it just feels awesome to use. Like everything feels smooth, and it makes everything feel better, if that makes any sense. It also is just nice because it doesn't take long to boot up. It just kind of boots up pretty quick compared to like Windows and stuff. It just boots up quick. Don't have to wait for things to load as long, I feel. Maybe that's just because my Windows installation is like 2 years old at this point, maybe? Something like that. But it's just a good experience overall. I'm trying to think about specific things that I wanted to say. I will say I did have some issues working with GIMP with my drawing tablet. It was not working correctly the first time, and then I was trying to figure out what to do with it, and then I tried it again today and it just worked. I was like, oh, okay. I don't know, it might have just been because maybe it was the first time I opened GIMP on that MacBook. I don't know. But I also, what the hell? Is that the water? Huh. Anyways. Fuck, what was I about to say? I was about to say something about GIMP. Was I about to say? Oh, yeah, the lack of apps. I was expecting I was gonna be missing stuff because it's like, there's a lot of stuff that's on Windows. Because again, the thing I mentioned before, form or function over form, right? There's a lot of stuff that doesn't work on Mac OS that works on Windows. And I was like, oh shit, that might be a big deal for some stuff. Really have not had any issues with that. Which maybe that's just because I use a lot of basic stuff. Maybe if I was using, I don't know what's a fucking example, like AutoCAD or something, or people even use AutoCAD anymore. I feel like there's a lot of other CAD programs that do a job better, but I don't know. That's getting off topic a little bit there. But I haven't really had any apps that I'm like, fuck, I wish I could run that on Mac OS. Everything kind of runs, and a lot of stuff just works natively on Apple Silicon, and it feels good. It's just good to use. It feels good and smooth. It almost... This is something that I kind of always thought was so fucking stupid when, like, Apple people would say, like, it's like, it's black magic, or it feels, it just feels better. But it actually kind of does. Like, I'm kind of blown away at just how small or like thin the hardware is, and yet it feels so much power, or so much more powerful than what I would get on a Windows laptop, and while being lighter and way more portable. It just feels fucking awesome. I edited that 2.5 hour video on my laptop, and by edited I mean I just kind of put it in the I put it in DaVinci Resolve, and I like changed the audio a little bit. That was pretty much it. But I rendered it, and then I fucked up the render because I left like 2 seconds of blank space at the beginning. So I was like, that's probably not good. So I'm gonna fix that. So I ended up doing that on my desktop, and the time it took to render on my desktop compared to my laptop was not that far off. Despite, like, I mean, my desktop isn't like the greatest thing in the world, but I mean, it has a Ryzen 5600X and the RX 6600 XT, which are pretty, like, that's a pretty solid CPU and GPU combo. And yet the render times were pretty comparable on an M2 Mac, by the way. This isn't an M4. This isn't the newest generation of Apple. This is, I want to say maybe 2021 or 2022. I don't know too much about Apple generations. But, like, isn't that fucking crazy? That a tiny little device like that, a thin, tiny little device like that, well, it's not even connected to the wall, can have a comparable render compared to a fucking beefy gaming PC, which maybe, not like the most up-to-date gaming PC, but like it plays fucking games at a decent frame rate. So that kind of surprised me because I expected that render was going to be like maybe half the time on my PC, but it was very comparable. It was crazy. And I think that really that was like the moment I was just like, wow, this hardware is genuinely capable. And there are probably some things that I'm going to have to deal with when it comes to Apple that annoy me a little bit. For example, a lot of the Apple repair stuff is pretty fucked up because, let's say there's one tiny thing wrong with the screen where it just requires one little part to be changed, and you could do it for like maybe $10 at most. And Apple will be like, you need the entire screen replaced and the motherboard replaced, and it's going to cost you $10,000. And it's like, what? That is kind of an unfortunate thing. But before, if I had never used an Apple product, and knowing that on top of it, it's like, yeah, I never want to touch an Apple product. But when you use an Apple product, you kind of realize like it does feel good to use it though. Like it really is. It almost feels like black magic what they squeeze out of that technology. And also, by the way, something I didn't even really mention much is it can even like do some decent gaming. It's not going to do anything too insane. It's not going to be like playing like Cyberpunk on fucking ultra settings or something. I don't even know if there's a Mac version of Cyberpunk. There actually might be, I don't know. But point is, it works. It just works. I don't really know what else to say. It just works. It works well. I am honestly just blown away by how good the MacBook has been. And for the first device that I've like fully purchased myself and I worked to get, like it probably cost me 1.5 weeks worth of paychecks. It was worth it. And I think what honestly surprises me the most now, I actually use the MacBook more than I use my PC, which one of the reasons I also wanted a MacBook too was going back to the lack of apps thing. I kind of wanted something that was a little different because I wanted, I guess, to have less distractions, because I become so used to things on Windows that it's just like I instinctually know how to go to my distractions. Whereas on my MacBook, I don't have those things just kind of like ingrained into my instincts. I'm not doing them subconsciously. So I don't feel like I'm wasting as much time on my MacBook, and it just feels better, feels good to use it. So I have been genuinely just pleasantly surprised with it. And I now use it more than I use my desktop, which is saying something. Because honestly, Windows just feels like a piece of shit. And like, I have been wanting to ditch Windows for years. I don't like Windows. But the thing is, Mac also has its drawbacks. So I didn't want to make the switch, especially because I want to be able to play games. For example, like Black Ops 7 comes out soon. Comes out like next month. And I just played the beta. Played the Zombies beta for a bit. It was okay. And then what other games? Are there really any other PC games I care about at the moment? Like not really, I guess. I was playing a lot of Inscription on my my PC. And the funny thing about Inscription is there is actually a Mac port. So I could play Inscription on my Mac if I wanted to. But yeah. I am genuinely just kind of blown away by how solid the MacBook is. I know I spent 40 minutes on this, but I mean, man, like it's fucking it just works. It works so well. I'm genuinely surprised. There are some like minor things I don't like. I kind of don't entirely like how the windows work, because it kind of leaves when you try to expand the window, it doesn't fully expand the window. It leaves this little gap between like the top kind of, I don't even know what it's called, taskbar, menu, whatever the fuck. It leaves like a little gap between that and then the actual window, which pisses me off. And you can like fix it by actually dragging the window, just manually dragging the window. But it's like, why does it not just expand the full way? That annoys me a little bit. Also takes some getting used to having the like minimize and X and everything on the left instead of the right. That was something that has still been throwing me off from time to time. But like, honestly, I don't really have many complaints. And the complaints I thought I was going to have, the things I thought were going to be downsides of it, haven't even really been downsides. So now I'm just like, fuck. Why didn't I get a MacBook 7 years ago? What was wrong with me? I definitely am more open to Apple products. I still probably will get, like, Android phones. I will actually mention one thing. One very annoying thing, which I don't even know if it's Apple's fault necessarily. But when you have an Android phone and you have a MacBook and you try to connect the Android phone to the MacBook, it just doesn't work. It even like I tried unplugging and replugging. At one point it was like, do you want to allow the Samsung whatever numbers to connect? And I was like, okay. And then it just still showed nothing, and I was like losing my mind. I'm like, why is this thing not working? And then I googled it and it's like, oh, it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. I don't know if that's a Google thing. My guess would probably be it's more of Apple's side, because they want people to be in their ecosystem. They don't want people to have an Android phone and a Mac laptop. They want them to have an iPhone and a MacBook, you know? So I think that's probably a little intentional by design. I am very glad that when I got the MacBook, I also decided to get a 1 terabyte portable SSD. And I just kind of got it on a whim because I was like, you know, it might be useful transferring files between my PC and my Mac. And I've actually been using it to transfer files from my phone because it's a USB-C, so I can plug it into my phone, and then it works as like storage. So I plug it into my phone, I put stuff on there, and then I plug it into my MacBook, and that's how I transfer stuff between my phone and my MacBook. I could also do like Google Drive, but for more what did I just press? I hope I didn't press. Okay, I thought I like accidentally turned on the air conditioner or something. But for the more the bigger files, like if I have a big recording, screen recording, or a big voiceover or something, I can't feasibly do that as much because I think Google Drive is like a 4 gigabyte limit on the free version or whatever. So would work for little photos and stuff, but not if I have like files that are gigabytes in size. So that's where the portable SSD comes in. It actually works great, so I'm very glad I bought that. At first I was like, it's fucking stupid. Why did I buy this? Did I really need it? Now I'm like, thank God I bought that thing. Holy fuck. Which it would be nice if I could just connect. I know there are like third-party things that let you connect Samsung phones or Google or Android phones to MacBooks, but I just haven't really bothered. I think the solution I came up with is fine. So overall, I just have to say that I'm happy with the MacBook, and I'm so happy that I'm using it more than my Windows gaming PC now. I have this fucking big, beefy gaming PC. It can play all these games. I have like a 120 hertz monitor. Or actually, it goes up to 144, I think, but I just leave it on 120 because 144 doesn't play nice if you are on like if you use like OBS or something and then you're recording at 60 FPS, but then like the frames are not going to work correctly. So I just leave it on 120. 120 FPS, by the way. Feels so good. If the MacBook had a 120 hertz screen, fuck, I don't know if I'd be able to ever go back to my Windows PC. Fuck. And then if they got like Call of Duty Black Ops 7 running on it, fuck. It might just be over. Bill Gates might just be out of business. But yeah, I'm happy with the MacBook. Genuinely, I'm really fucking surprised that I like the MacBook as much as I do, but I do. So yeah, I'm glad that I made that investment. I didn't know how it was gonna work out, but you know, I had my own money. Fuck it, let's do it, and it's been good. It's been very good, and I also feel like it kind of has been easier for me to break a lot of those bad habits that I mentioned in my previous video when it comes to like social media or watching videos or playing games, because it's like I just don't have those habits ingrained into my brain when I'm on my MacBook. So, which also, to give a little bit of an update to that, because I started it in like the middle of yesterday, basically. So after I made that video, I started doing that. And I already fucked up twice because I just subconsciously pressed the bookmark I have to go to my YouTube subscriptions, and then I instantly closed out of it because I was like, fuck, why did I do that? So I haven't really broken that so far, at least like fully. I've kind of had those habits still, those subconscious habits, but I'm trying to really break those when I can. So yeah, I mean, what else can I say? I Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't really have much else to say. I think this is probably the point where I end it, if anything. Yeah, I mean, and my Go++ stopped. No wonder there's no more constant vibrating. I'm gonna go play some Pokemon Go, and then I'm gonna go back to my MacBook. I think it's a pretty solid purchase, though. Even if you're an Apple hater like I have been, I think it was a good purchase. I don't see myself buying an iPhone at all, but at least when it comes to laptops, that might be where I'm sticking in the future, I think. As long as it's not like something that I need Windows for. But yeah, I don't really have much else to say. If you are someone who is debating on getting a MacBook, I would say think about what you want from the laptop first and foremost, because if you want something from the laptop that is not available on Mac or isn't going to work great on Mac, I might say steer away. I also, one other thing I almost forgot to mention, there isn't a lot of I/O on the laptop, so it is literally just the MagSafe charger port and then 2 Thunderbolt ports and a headphone jack. But the headphone jack completely surprised me, to be honest. But that's like it. That's all the I/O that's on there. There's no USB-A, USB 3 ports. It's just Thunderbolt. So I had to actually get like an adapter for it, which I had one already, thankfully, for my phone. So yeah, I would say think about what you want it for, if you don't think there's that much you're going to be missing out on by not having Windows, then honestly might be worth it. Even the keyboard feels so nice. At first I didn't really know if I liked it, but like it feels so good. It feels so good to use. I gotta hurry up and get in that gym because I got 2 minutes left on it before I get screwed over. So I am going to go do that. So yeah, I guess that's it.